Girl, let me tell you how betrayal smells. Because to me, it carried the cheap vanilla body spray my sister always drowned herself in, mixed with the metallic tang of stolen ambition. I didn't even realize what she'd done until it was almost too late. The night everything shifted, I was in my studio, barefoot, silk robe tied loosely around me, my favorite playlist humming low. The soft glow from my drafting lamp lit up my sketches, my babies, my brilliance, my future. For months, I had been crafting a new line called Ascend, a collection merging West African structure with modern, sharp silhouettes. Every piece told a story of elevation, of rising, of stepping into your own power. It was supposed to be my biggest debut yet. And I had already sealed my patent applications 3 months earlier, triple-checked everything with my lawyer, and locked my sketches in a flat file drawer that only I and one other person could access. You already know who that one other person was. My older sister, Maya. The golden child, the runway princess, the one who claimed to support my dreams right up until she realized they were getting bigger than hers. But that night, none of that crossed my mind. I was feeling hopeful, actually. I had just sprayed my jasmine mist around the workspace and was organizing my patterns for the next morning when my phone buzzed. A text from my friend Chanel. Girl, tell me you didn't just submit your collection to the Aspire Showcase? I blinked. Aspire Showcase? I had talked about maybe applying someday, but I had never submitted anything. Aspire was the rival to the gala I was actually preparing for, but one I had worked toward for years. Aspire was Maya's world, not mine. I replied, "What are you talking about?" Chanel came back instantly. They just posted the preview lineup, the collection called Ascension. Those sketches look like your style, exactly your style. My stomach dropped so fast I could hear it thud in my own ears. Ascension? No, she didn't. I ran to the flat file drawer, slid it open, and felt my chest pinched tight enough to stop my breath. Entire sections of my collection, my designs, my notes, my color story were missing. Gone. Some pages ripped from my sketchbook, some copied, some stolen from the folder where I kept my backups. The world tilted, and the air suddenly smelled wrong. Vanilla body spray, the cheap kind Maya used when she wanted to feel young and expensive. I had smelled it earlier that day when she stopped by just to see me. I didn't want to believe it, but disbelief was a luxury I could no longer afford. I sank into my chair and stared at the empty drawer like it was a crime scene. Because it was. Then Chanel texted again. "You need to see this. Sending the link." I clicked, and Aspire's Instagram page opened. The preview video played automatically, flashing mood boards, inspiration shots, and then there they were, my designs, my silhouettes, my handwriting faintly visible in the cropped margins. But the name listed under the collection read, "Designed by Maya Laurent." Honey, the way my blood pressure shot through the ceiling, the way my jaw clenched so tight I could swear my molars cracked. My own sister had stolen my collection and submitted it as her grand debut at the Aspire Showcase, a showcase scheduled for the exact same week as my own event. She wasn't trying to compete. She was trying to erase me. I grabbed my phone and dialed her number. She answered on the third ring, all bubbly and fake sweetness. "Hey, little sis, everything okay?" My voice went cold. "Maya, where are my designs?" Silence. A crack in her perfect mask. Then a tight, "I don't know what you're talking about." I laughed, bitter and loud. "Really? Because Aspire seems to know exactly what I'm talking about." More silence. Then she inhaled sharply. "Look, you weren't doing anything big with them. And honestly, you weren't ready. But I was. This opportunity came up and I ran with it. That's how this industry works. You seize moments. Maybe you should try it sometime. My vision narrowed to a pinprick. Maya, I said, voice low, you stole my intellectual property. She scoffed. Oh, please. They're just drawings, and you've always had more ideas. Share a little. Be a team player for once. I opened my mouth to destroy her with words, but she cut me off. And don't embarrass yourself by accusing me publicly. I already signed contracts with Aspire. They think I'm the next big thing. She even giggled. Besides, who are they going to believe, you or me? And then she hung up. I stood in my studio, fists shaking, heart pounding against my throat. But then something inside me shifted. A calm, smooth, powerful click. Because what Maya didn't know, what she could never have imagined, was that every single design she stole had already been filed under federal patents and copyrights with complete timestamp documentation and digital originals. She thought she stole my dream, but she only stole evidence. I smoothed down my robe, slid my first slides into the still room, and whispered into the still room, "Oh, sweetheart, you just messed with the wrong queen." I didn't sleep that night, not because I was panicking. No, girl. Because the part of my brain that handles revenge was having a 5-course gourmet dinner. I was too busy plotting, arranging, aligning every tiny piece of my comeback. By sunrise, my studio smelt like coffee and Dior Sauvage, only because my lawyer, Andre, had rushed out of his house so fast he'd grabbed the wrong fragrance, and the man looked deeply offended at himself for it. "So let me get this straight," he said, flipping through the stack of documents I had shoved into a leather portfolio. "Your sister stole your designs, submitted them under her name, and Aspire accepted her." "Accepted her?" I replied while pouring myself more coffee, "and gave her a prime runway slot." Andre gave a low, impressed whistle. Bold. Wrong, but bold. I sipped my cup. She thought I didn't protect my work. He tapped the patents, and you did, meticulously. I nodded, because it was true. I'm not new to betrayal. I just don't expect it from blood. Andre shook his head. "Honey, sometimes family cuts the deepest." I glanced out the window where sunrise was painting the sky gold. Well, we're about to return the favor. Legally. Andre straightened. "So what do you want to do first? We have options." I smiled, the slow, dangerous one I only pull out for special occasions. "Tell me the one that costs her the most." His grin matched mine. Injunction. Music to my ears. An injunction would stop Aspire from showing the stolen collection immediately, publicly, and deliciously embarrassingly. "But," he warned, raising a finger, "getting an emergency injunction means we'll need rock-solid evidence, proof the designs are yours." I slid a tablet toward him. "Press play." He watched the time-lapse begin. Me sketching, sewing, marking fabric, dating digital files, printing patent receipts. His eyebrows shot up. "You documented everything?" "I document everything, Andre. Even my grocery lists have receipts." He laughed. "Well then, let's ruin her legally." While he drafted documents, I drafted something far more theatrical. Because an injunction alone wasn't enough. Maya wanted a show? Then I was going to give her one. A show about what happens when a fraud tries to strut down a runway built on stolen dreams. And the best part? I wasn't just shutting her show down, I was replacing it with mine. Sure, I already had a venue, my original event, but that suddenly felt too small. Not for this moment, not for the magnitude of the disrespect. I wanted to come back loud enough to make people whisper my name like a legend. Loud enough to make other designers clutch their sketchbooks to their chests. Loud enough to make my sister wish she had never even thought of touching my work. As Andre printed paperwork, my phone buzzed. A message from the family group chat. "Family brunch? Sunday." I ignored it. 10 seconds later, my mother texts me privately. Your sister is excited for her big debut. I hope you two are supporting each other. Family before everything. I closed my eyes and inhaled slowly. Family before everything. But what happens when family puts themselves before you? I typed back, we'll see about that. Andre came back with a pen. Sign here. Once we file, she'll be served before her show. My heart thudded. And Aspire? Forced to shut it down the moment I realized it's stolen work. No negotiation. Satisfaction bloomed warm and fierce in my chest. Good. But, he added, raising a finger, if you want this to burn, you need to be present. You need to walk in there with receipts. I smiled. Oh, trust me, I'm showing up. I stood, smoothing my silk blouse, sliding my feet into my favorite black Louboutins, the glossy pair with the razor-sharp red bottoms that click on marble like a countdown clock. He raised an eyebrow. Where are you going? I said, to make sure everything is ready. If I'm crashing a runway, I need to make sure my show is worth the interruption. He laughed. You're dangerous. Legally, I replied, flipping my curls over my shoulder. The best kind. As I walked out of his office, heels echoing, phone buzzing, plans clicking together like puzzle pieces, I felt something I hadn't felt since the moment I discovered Maya's betrayal. Control, power, focus. She thought she could humiliate me by stealing my work? No, baby. I was about to humiliate her by showing the world exactly who the real designer was. And I wasn't just coming with lawyers. I was coming with my collection, my story, my moment, my crown. The elevator doors slid closed, catching my reflection in the mirrored steel. Let the show begin, I whispered. I spent the next 48 hours preparing not just to win, but to dominate. First, I headed straight to my tailor's workspace, a bright, sunlit loft that smelled like steamed fabric and lavender detergent. The moment I walked in, my entire team looked up. Is it time? My head seamstress Lonnie asked. It's time, I said. And honey, when I told them what Maya did, jaws dropped, eyebrows shot straight into hairlines, Lonnie clutched her chest like she had been personally slapped. Oh, I know she didn't, she nearly shouted. Your sister needs prayer and consequences. Mostly consequences, I said. And just like that, the room transformed into a hive of precision and purpose. Every stitch tightened, every seam perfected, every dress steamed until it flowed like liquid silk. Models began arriving throughout the day, tall, graceful, glowing black women in every shade from deep cocoa to golden caramel. They moved through the space like queens, robes tied at the waist, laughter bubbling under the hum of sewing machines. Ladies, I said, clapping my hands to gather their attention, we have an opportunity, not just to show fashion, but to make a moment people will talk about. One model smirked. What kind of moment? The kind, I said, where a woman tries to steal your throne and you show up wearing a crown so bright she needs sunglasses. Chuckles rippled through the room, but beneath the laughter, a storm brewed quietly in my chest. Because no matter how sweet revenge tastes, betrayal from your own blood stings differently. It's like being slapped with silk, soft, but it still leaves a mark. Before sunset, I slipped out to the loft balcony. The breeze was warm, brushing my skin softly as I held a chilled glass of rosé and watched the sky fade from gold to rose pink. And without warning, tears began rolling down my cheeks. Not loud, heaving sobs, just quiet, steady tears sliding silently. Because I kept wondering, why wasn't I enough as I was? Why did my sister feel she had to steal from me to shine? Why did she see my success as a threat instead of inspiration? Behind me, the door opened. Light footsteps approached. It was Lonnie. She sat beside me. You okay? She asked softly. I wiped my face. Yeah, just processing. She tilted her head. You still love her. I nodded. Of course I do. She's my sister. And that's exactly why this hurts, she said. If a random designer stole from you, you'd drag them from here to Paris without blinking. But family cuts deeper. I let out a shaky laugh. You sound like Andre. Well, he's right. But let me tell you something else. She turned toward me, eyes blazing with loyalty. She made her choice. Now, you're making yours. And your choice is righteous, legal, and overdue. I inhaled slowly, exhaled deeply. She squeezed my hand. Now get up, Queen. We've got a runway to conquer. I wiped my face and stood. That night, after the team left, I returned to my apartment, my sanctuary, warm with the scent of sandalwood and vanilla. I kicked off my heels, slipped into my soft robe, and walked straight to my design wall. There they were, my original sketches, pinned neatly, glowing under soft light. I touched my favorite piece, the structured gold gown with the sharp shoulders and sky-high slit. "You're going to shine tomorrow," I whispered. Then my phone buzzed, a notification from Aspire's public page. Tomorrow, meet the rising star designer Maya Laurent. Her breathtaking collection, Ascension, debuts live at 6 p.m. My blood simmered. She had stolen everything, even the name. Another buzz. A text from Andre. "Papers filed. Judge-approved emergency injunction. She'll be served at call time. You ready?" A slow smile curved across my lips. Oh, I'm ready. Then another message came in, this time from my mother. "Your sister is nervous. Please be kind. She just wants her chance." I stared at the text, feeling the weight of it press against my chest. Then I typed back, "She'll get exactly what she deserves." Because tomorrow wasn't just revenge. It was justice. It was reclamation. It was the storm Maya thought I didn't have the power to summon. And as I lay down in bed with my heart steady and my eyes closing, I whispered into the darkness, "Maya, tomorrow, everyone is going to know the truth." The next day, I woke up with that strange kind of calm, the kind that feels like the eye of a hurricane. My alarm hadn't even gone off. I was simply awake, aware, ready. By noon, I was dressed in a fitted black jumpsuit that hugged every right curve, my hair in a sleek side part, a gold cuff bracelet gleaming each time I moved. I smelled like black opium and intention. Maya's show was at 6 p.m., but Andre told me the process server, a tall, polite man named Harold, planned to serve her at 4:15 p.m., right in the middle of backstage prep. Perfect. Then Andre sent one more text. "Bring your phone. You'll want footage." I smiled. Oh, I will. By 3:45 p.m., I stepped out of my car in front of the Aspire Showcase venue, a glossy, modern building of glass walls catching the late afternoon sun. Crew members rushed past with garment bags and lighting rigs. I adjusted my sunglasses, took a slow breath, and walked inside like I owned the building. My heels clicked against the marble floors, sharp, rhythmic, commanding. People turned. I didn't slow down. At the registration table, an exhausted assistant with a headset looked up. "Hi, designer check-in is—" "I'm not here to check in," I said smoothly. "I'm here for the 4:15. She blinked. "The what 4:15? "You'll see." I stepped past her before she could ask anything else. Backstage buzzed with chaos, steamers hissing, makeup artists shouting for more brushes, models practicing their turns, and near a clothing rack labeled Ascension stood Maya. Her hair fell in loose waves, she wore a soft pink pantsuit, and she gestured dramatically as she spoke to a coordinator. "Make sure the spotlights hit the gold piece first," she said. "It has the highest wow factor. Trust me." Oh, I trusted her. I trusted her wow factor was about to dissolve into dust. I leaned against a pillar just as Harold, my new favorite soldier of justice, approached from the opposite end of the room. "Maya Laurent," he called. She turned, blinking. Yes? He held out an envelope. You've been served. Girl, her face collapsed, like someone unplugged the entire power grid behind her confidence. What? Served? Served with what? She asked, voice buckling. I folded my arms. Hi, sis. Her head snapped toward me, eyes wide, horrified, trembling with immediate panic. You? What did you do? Oh, honey, I said as I stepped into the light. I didn't do anything. You did. Harold continued, polite but unbothered. You are hereby ordered to cease and desist from displaying, distributing, or representing the attached designs pending legal action. Violations may result in financial penalties and additional legal consequences. The entire backstage went silent. Models froze mid-walk. Makeup artists held brushes suspended in the air. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Maya's hands shook violently as she tore open the envelope and skimmed the first page, then the second, then the exhibits with photos of my original sketches. No, 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 she stammered. This can't, these aren't. They're mine, I said softly. Filed and protected months before you stole them. Dates included. You can't do this, she screamed. Oh, I can, and I did. Her voice broke. But my show is canceled, Harold said. Effective immediately. I heard a gasp ripple through the nearby models. The coordinator rushed over. What do you mean canceled? She's a headliner. Not anymore, I said. Maya turned to me with tears swelling, her chin trembling. Why are you doing this? I stepped closer, lowering my voice, making sure everyone could hear the truth. You stole from me. You stole my work, my time, my creativity, and then you tried to shine using my light. That's not ambition, Maya. That's theft. She shook her head, desperate. I just wanted, I needed, it was my chance. And you could have had your own, but you took mine. She collapsed into a folding chair, covering her face as loud sobs tore out of her. Not elegant tears, raw, heaving cries that echoed across the thin backstage walls. The room watched, whispered, judged. Because fashion may be beautiful, but it is not kind. And news spreads like wildfire. I looked at her one last time. You could have talked to me, but you chose betrayal. And betrayal has consequences. Then I turned and walked away as the coordinator barked into her headset, We need to reroute the show order. Someone find another designer to fill the time slot. My heels clicked like another countdown, sharp and decisive. Behind me, Maya sobbed harder, and I didn't look back. I was halfway down the hallway when someone called out, Excuse me, Designer Laurent? I turned to see two Aspire officials hustling toward me. One wore a navy suit so tight it looked like he was fighting for circulation, and the other clutched a clipboard like she was prepared to swing it. Yes, I said, adjusting my purse. Navy suit cleared his throat. We need to discuss this injunction. Clipboard added, This puts us in a difficult position. I raised a brow. And, Navy suit continued, this last-minute legal action disrupts our schedule, our audience expectations, and our promotional materials. So you want an apology? I asked mildly. They both blinked, thrown. No, Clipboard said cautiously. We want a resolution. I smiled sweetly. There is one. Don't show stolen work. Navy Suit stepped closer, lowering his voice like he was about to offer me a conspiracy. Look, Aspire values innovation. Perhaps we can negotiate. Maybe you release some of the designs, or allow her to show part of the collection. I stared at him like he had spontaneously sprouted a second head. "You want me," I said slowly, "to let someone who stole from me present any part of my work?" He nodded, as if the logic was flawless. I laughed. Loud. Clipboard stiffened. "What's funny?" "What's funny," I said, "is that you think you have leverage." They exchanged nervous glances. I continued, my voice silky and sharp. "Let me explain something. I didn't come here hoping to shut down your show. I came here prepared to. You accepted a designer who submitted stolen intellectual property. That's on you, not me." Clipboard cleared her throat. "We didn't know." "And that," I cut in, "is also on you. Maybe do background checks next time." Navy suit winced. "Look, we're asking for cooperation." "Cooperation?" I echoed. "Of course I'll cooperate. Follow the law. Remove the stolen collection. Issue a public statement that Aspire does not condone intellectual theft. Done." Their faces went pale. Clipboard whispered, horrified, "You want us to publicly admit error?" "Oh, absolutely," I said, "and I want it in writing, today." Navy suit opened his mouth to argue, but his headset crackled. "Urgent. Press already heard about the injunction. They're asking if Aspire displayed fraudulent designs." Clipboard gasped. "Fraudulent?" I gave them the sweetest, innocent smile. "Oh, are people talking?" Clipboard clutched her headset like it was flotation device. "This is bad." "It's not bad," I corrected. "It's preventable. Remove Maya's slot, issue a statement, and most importantly, replace the show with something better." Navy suit dabbed his forehead. "Better? Like what?" I stepped forward, letting my perfume wrap the moment in authority. "How about," I said, slow and deliberate, "the real collection, the real designer, the real show?" Clipboard blinked. "Your show?" "Yes, mine. Ascend. The line she stole from." Navy suit stared. "You want to debut tonight?" I shrugged. "You need a headliner. I have a polished, patent-protected, runway-ready collection and a full team on standby. Seems like a perfect match." They looked at me like I'd just parted the Red Sea in Louboutins. Clipboard finally found her voice. We need to discuss this. If we agree, we'll contact you immediately." "Good," I said, turning away. "But hurry, your audience isn't going to wait forever." And I walked off, hips swaying, heels sharp, heart steady, because they didn't have a choice. Tonight, the spotlight was coming home. I had just stepped outside into the evening air when my phone buzzed. I checked the screen, expecting Andre or maybe Lonnie. But no, it was Aspire. Aspire, showcase, urgent decision. My pulse kicked up. I hit answer. "Hello?" I said coolly. Clipboard's voice came through, slightly breathless. "Miss Laurent, we've made a decision." "Yes?" "We want your collection." I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the words wash over me like warm sunlight breaking through clouds. "Continue," I said. "You will take the 6 p.m. headliner slot. We will promote the switch on our social channels immediately. You'll have backstage access in 10 minutes. We need garment racks and models ready within 35 minutes. I smiled. "Done. One more thing," she added, lowering her voice. "Your sister, she's still here. She's upset." "Not my problem," I said. There was a pause. Then Clipboard whispered, We cannot condone what she did, and we apologize, truly. That's a good start, I replied. Send the paperwork. We already did. I opened my email, a contract attached. The front page read, New headliner, Ascend Collection, designed by Aria Laurent. My name. Mine. Finally, sitting where it belonged. A warmth bloomed in my chest. Pride, vindication, clarity. Tonight wasn't just a comeback. It was a coronation. I turned toward my car to grab garment bags and call my team. But before I reached it, footsteps hit the pavement behind me. Fast, desperate. Aria! I turned. Maya. Mascara streaks down her cheeks, eyes red, shoulders trembling. Please, she whispered, voice fragile. Don't do this. I stared. Do what? Take everything. Her throat bobbed. It was my chance. You know I've always wanted to be in fashion. You know how long I've dreamed of this. And you could have earned it, but you tried to steal it. She shook her head wildly. I made a mistake. You made several. Her lip quivered. I'm your sister. And you should have acted like it. She reached for my arm. I stepped back. Something inside her broke then, visibly, audibly, right there in the parking lot. She collapsed, crying hard, knees weakening, hands trembling. Please, she sobbed. Don't take this away from me. I leaned in, voice low, steady, unshakable. Maya, this is the moment you learn that consequences aren't cruelty. Then I straightened, smoothed my jumpsuit, and walked past her. She cried harder behind me. But I didn't turn around, because the next time I stepped on that runway, the world would finally know exactly who the designer was. Aspire's backstage looked completely different the moment I returned. Not because a single prop had moved, but because I had. Confidence changes the air around you, sharpens it, makes people inhale when you walk in. When I stepped through those double doors with garment bags draped across both arms, the whole room froze. Models, stylists, assistants, everyone turned to stare. Someone whispered, "That's her, the real designer." Perfect. Let the truth spread like wildfire. Clipboard rushed toward me, breathless and jittery. Miss Laurent, we've cleared a space for your team, right over here. She pointed to an entire backstage section, once dedicated to Maya's stolen empire. Now, it was mine. Thank you, I said smoothly, handing off garment bags to Lonnie and the assistants who had arrived in a blur of precision and energy. My team snapped open garment racks, steamed fabrics, arranged accessories, and pinned last-minute adjustments with the synchronized confidence of a couture army. The air around us filled with hairspray, hot steam, and the warm, intoxicating scent of my vanilla bourbon perfume. One of the Aspire producers approached with a tablet. We need your first 3 looks for sequencing. Already arranged, I said, handing her a folder. And the order tells a story. Don't change it. She nodded quickly, almost intimidated. Behind me, Lonnie zipped a model into the gold gown, the gown that had been intended as Maya's grand opener. Tonight, it shimmered under the lights like molten royalty, and when the model stepped onto the platform, turning slowly, the whole room gasped. I heard someone whisper, "Oh, this is next level." Another, "How did Maya think she could design that?" My lips curved. Exactly. Then the air shifted, quieting into a hush. I turned. Maya stood there, red-eyed, blotchy, trembling. Her blouse was wrinkled, mascara smeared, the look of someone who had cried until her soul felt scraped raw. And she had the audacity to whisper, "Aria, please, can we talk?" Every head tilted toward us. My models paused mid-adjustment. Stylist hovered. Clipboard pretended to check her tablet, but wasn't fooling a soul. I didn't flinch. "Talk about what?" I asked. She swallowed hard. "About everything. You mean the theft, or the lying, or the forged submission under my name, or the part where you told me nobody would believe me?" She flinched with each word. Perfectly legal, perfectly earned, never physical. "Arya," she whispered, voice breaking, "I messed up." "You did," I said simply. The silence thickened until even the steamers hissed themselves quiet. "I'll fix it," she said desperately. "I'll apologize, publicly. I'll tell them the designs are yours." I tilted my head. "Oh, you'll tell the truth now. How generous." She winced, then whispered, "I'm scared." For 1 second, I felt the faint tug of old sister instinct, the part of me that used to braid her hair or cover for her childhood mistakes. But then her voice echoed in my memory. Who are they going to believe? You or me? And the tug vanished. "Fear," I said softly, "is the price of betrayal." Her eyes filled again. "Arya, please." Before I answered, Clipboard walked over gently but firmly. "Miss Maya, you need to leave the backstage area. This space is reserved." Translation: this is not your room anymore. Maya's breath cracked. She looked at me one last time. "Why are you being so cruel?" she whispered. I leaned in, just enough for her and everyone pretending not to listen to hear. "Cruelty is what you did. Consequences is what I'm doing." She let out a small broken cry, covered her mouth, and rushed out of backstage. Footsteps trailed after her, maybe sympathy, maybe duty, but nobody hurried. Nobody interrupted me, and nobody questioned who the real designer was. Lonnie stepped beside me. "You okay?" "I'm perfect," I said. "Your hands are shaking." I looked down. They were. Not from fear, never fear. From realization. Tonight wasn't just a show. It was my rebirth. I clapped my hands once, sharp and electric. "All right, team, let's make the runway tremble." 30 minutes. That was all Aspire gave me. 30 minutes to turn their backstage chaos into couture glory. But pressure has never broken me. I don't crumble under it. I am pressure. My team moved like lightning, pressing seams, fixing last-minute hems, aligning jewelry placements with surgical precision. Models rehearsed their opening steps while stylists braided, pinned, curled, and glossed edges until each woman glowed like the sun had personally kissed her cheekbones. In the center of that storm, I worked calmly, adjusting the final garments on a mannequin, a floor-length white coat dress with sculpted shoulders, my closer, my crown piece. The room buzzed with electric energy, but beneath the excitement, something felt shifted. Stylists kept glancing toward the hallway where Maya had disappeared, and the whispers were hotter than fresh tea. She really tried to steal all of that? She submitted those sketches like she drew them herself. Aspire's board is furious. I'd be scared to show my face ever again. Good. Let the truth sink into every corner of this building like incense. Clipboard rushed back in, breathless. "Miss Laurent, update. Aspire has posted the showcase change across all platforms. You're officially tonight's headliner." I nodded. "Good. And the press has been informed." "Even better." When they called 2 minutes, the entire backstage seemed to thicken with electricity. Charged, humming, alive. The muted bass thrummed through the floorboards, pulsing beneath our feet like a heartbeat preparing for battle. I stood just behind the curtain, my models arranged in front of me in their opening looks. Sleek black and gold silhouettes, sharp-edged and commanding. The lighting crew tested a sweep of spotlights that sliced under the curtain edges and thin, brilliant ribbons. My pulse steadied, deep, anchored, regal. This is my moment. This is my show. A stagehand leaned in beside me. We're ready for the headliner intro. Through a narrow part in the curtain, I caught a glimpse of the audience. Every seat filled, phones glowing like constellations, photographers crouched in the pit, influencers perched forward, hungry for spectacle. And in the second row, beside the judges, sat my mother, poised, elegant, hands delicately clasped. Her expression carried pride twisted with confusion, but there was no Maya beside her. A small ache tugged at my chest, small, but real. Then the speakers clicked on. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's headliner is the groundbreaking visionary behind the Ascend collection, the one and only Aria Laurent. The room exploded. Applause, cheering, gasps, camera shutters snapping like a storm of flashbulbs. I let the smile rise because I earned this. The music began. Deep ancestral drums laced with airy ethereal vocals. Gold light cascaded across the runway like a sunrise reborn. Model 1, go, the stage manager whispered. The first model stepped out, and the crowd went wild. Her black sculptural dress caught the light in rippling waves, the pleats unfolding like origami in motion. People pointed, whispered, lifted their phones in perfect unison. Confidence embodied. The second model glided out in molten gold gown, structured bodice, fluid skirt. Then a black jumpsuit with sharp geometric piping. Every look was a chapter, every step a rebuttal to betrayal. This is my art, my vision, my legacy. Whispers swept through the audience like a rising tide. Wasn't her sister supposed to show this? I heard legal issues. No, she stole them. Oh my God! So these are the originals. She's a genius. Yes. Speak my truth for me. Say it louder. Backstage, Lonnie murmured, "They're eating this up." I breathed. They should. Model after model stunned the room. People gasped. Some even stood. A photographer near the front yelled, "This is insane!" I felt that. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw movement at the back entrance. Someone slipping into the shadows, standing behind the last row of seats. Shoulders slumped, hair undone, face pale. Maya. She watched. She watched the show. She tried to steal, ignite the room without her. She didn't leave, didn't hide. She stood there trembling, hands over her mouth, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. No melodrama, no pleading, just the quiet, punishing realization the crown she tried to snatch was never hers. Brilliance can't be stolen. And she had underestimated the wrong sister. Seeing her there didn't hurt. It freed me because suddenly I understood. Revenge wasn't the point. Truth was. The music shifted, softening into something atmospheric. The stage manager touched my arm. "Last look, your cue is next." My throat tightened. My closer. My masterpiece. The model stepped into position wearing the white coat dress, moonlit elegance in motion. The audience fell silent as she walked. The coat trailing behind her like a spectral cape, the structured shoulders commanding the room. Then, one spotlight swung. On to me. The crowd gasped. "Designer walk," the stage manager whispered urgently. My heart leapt. I stepped forward. The curtain swept open. The spotlight washed over my skin, and I walked, slow, confident, unshakable. Heels slicing the runway like declarations of truth. The audience roared, cheering, chanting my name. Aria, Aria, Aria. Flashbulbs erupted like lightning. And in the back of the room, I saw Maya crumble into a chair, cover her face, and shake beneath the enormity of everything she had lost. But I didn't stop. I kept walking, wrapped in light, wrapped in applause, wrapped in destiny. Because tonight, and every night after, the spotlight was finally, undeniably, irrevocably mine. The moment my heels left that runway, the world swallowed me whole. Not physically, please, boundaries exist, but in every other way. Microphones sprouted like wildflowers after a storm. Cameras tilted up with mechanical hunger. Reporters surged so close, their perfumes blended into an overwhelming bouquet of rose, jasmine, and pure ambition. Stagehands tried forming a protective semicircle around me, but the press moved like a tide. Aria, over here! How long did the collection take? What inspired Ascend? Is it true your sister was originally scheduled to headline tonight? Ah, there it was. The question dipped in scandal, served chilled, perfect for the vultures. I lifted one brow and offered a cool, champagne-dry smile. Tonight, I said smoothly, was about honoring original creativity and ensuring the fashion world celebrates authenticity. The reporters devoured that line like it was passed on a silver platter. Another voice cut through. Did Aspire apologize for the mix-up? Yes, and they handled the situation responsibly. Then, how do you feel now that the world knows these are your designs? I tilted my chin upward, subtle, regal. I feel seen. Flashbulbs erupted like fireworks. But then, through the strobing lights and chaotic cacophony, I saw her. Maya, half hidden behind a lighting rig, back pressed to a concrete pillar, wiping her eyes with shaking hands, her makeup streaked, her clothes wrinkled, her face shattered. She watched the cameras chase me, watched the reporters hang on my every word, watched the world recognize me. And in her eyes, something broke. It dawned on her finally that this moment, this brilliance, this crown was never hers to take. Her shoulders slowly caved inward. Her gaze dropped. She turned, ready to disappear into the shadows. And then, the crowd parted. My mother entered. Mama doesn't walk. Mama glides. Tonight, she wore a plum dress that shimmered like dignity itself, earrings catching the light with every step. Her hair was pinned with surgical precision, classic, sharp, regal. She didn't look at me. She didn't approach me. She didn't offer congratulations or applause. She went straight to Maya. My breath locked. Just as the murmurs settled and glasses clinked in tentative peace, the rooftop doors slid open again. Not casually, not elegantly, not like anyone expected. No, this entrance demanded attention. A figure appeared, silhouetted against the city lights, a man in a sharply tailored tuxedo, moving with the kind of confidence that suggested he belonged everywhere and nowhere at once. The crowd parted instinctively. Phones lifted, cameras zoomed. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, voice low, deliberate, cutting through the murmurs like a blade. "I'm here on behalf of Aspire and the Ascend collection." He paused, eyes sweeping the room. Then he smiled. "And tonight, we recognize not just a designer, but a visionary. Aria Laurent, your work has redefined this showcase and the industry has taken notice. We are offering you—" My heart hit my throat. "A partnership. Executive-level collaboration on the next season's global line. Full creative control, the kind of support that turns brilliance into legacy." The room erupted. People were cheering, some spilling champagne, some literally jumping. Phones recorded, live streams ignited, hashtags were born mid-sentence. I blinked, slowly, deliberately. Then I looked at Mama. She raised a brow. I looked at Maya. She was completely frozen, hand over her mouth. I looked at the crowd. Phones were pointed at me like wands conjuring destiny. And honey, I realized right there, this wasn't just validation. This wasn't just truth. This was the universe itself bowing. I smiled. Not a small smile, not a polite smile. A smile that stretched to the edges of triumph, of survival, of absolute reclamation. I took the mic again, my voice steady, resonant, carrying over the hum of the city below. "Thank you. But let me be clear. This isn't just about me. It's about every designer who fights for their originality. It's about integrity over shortcuts. And yes, even when betrayal comes from the closest people in your life, the truth always rises." The crowd cheered again, louder, wilder, shaking the glass walls. And Mama? She just smiled, that quiet, knowing smile that said, "Queen, you've arrived." And me? I let the champagne wait. I let the cameras flash. Because the night wasn't just mine. It was history being written. And baby, the biggest twist? It had nothing to do with Maya. It had everything to do with me claiming the world as my own.
Oh, honey, that is the moment where every beat, every betrayal, every sleepless night, every sketch on crumpled paper culminates into pure, unshakable triumph. Aria isn't just winning a fashion show anymore. She's claiming her entire narrative. Not because she had to fight her sister publicly, but because she stayed true to herself when the world was waiting for drama. And Maya's respect? That subtle acknowledgement is far more satisfying than revenge ever could be. It's the kind of closure that makes the audience exhale in relief and admiration simultaneously. Imagine it, the city lights spilling in through the glass walls, the champagne fizzing, the whispers of opportunity, and Aria poised, radiant, carrying everything she earned, and knowing it's hers because of integrity, skill, and relentless determination. This isn't just a chapter ending. This is the launching pad.
The morning after the showcase, I woke to my phone buzzing like a beehive caught in a hurricane. Buzz, 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 buzz. Unceasing, relentless. Notifications packed my lock screen.
Emails, dings, mentions, tags, interview requests, collaboration offers, PR agencies begging to represent me, celebrities sharing clips from the runway. Sunlight streamed across my bed, warm and blinding, and I could still smell the soft lavender body oil on my skin. Faint, comforting, blending with the quiet afterglow of triumph. When I finally grabbed my phone, the first notification nearly made me drop it. Hashtag Aria Ascends, 4.8 million posts. My eyes widened, sleep forgotten. I was trending, worldwide. The second notification hit even harder. Mail Laurent statement, full video, 10 million views. Already? I sat up fully and pressed play. The video opens on Maya sitting beside our mother on the old childhood couch. Her eyes were puffy but sincere, shoulders squared in resolve. A box of tissues sat between them like an offering of peace. I betrayed my sister, she said immediately. I stole her intellectual property, but the world needs to know exactly why. She didn't hesitate. She dove straight into the core. She confessed insecurity, jealousy, feeling like she could never measure up. She admitted she took shortcuts because she feared she couldn't compete with brilliance. And when I confronted her, she said, she wasn't met with cruelty, only honesty she wasn't ready to hear. Mama set a supportive hand on hers as Maya continued, voice trembling but firm. I want to publicly say that Arya didn't destroy my career. I destroyed it myself. The comments under the video poured like confetti, some sympathetic, many blunt, all acknowledging the weight of accountability. Before I could even process that tidal wave, I scrolled through the rest of my notifications. Over 20 major outlets had already published articles celebrating the show, my designs, and the drama that had erupted. Headlines everywhere called me a rising star, hailed my work as the catalyst that saved the entire showcase, and praised my legal foresight. Then a message from Aspire. Press conference at 1 p.m., Aria Laurent to appear. I dressed in a smooth espresso brown power suit with gold hoops and a sleek ponytail, perfumed with my signature vanilla bourbon scent. When I arrived at Aspire headquarters, the lobby was bursting with reporters. Security practically had to part the sea to escort me through the commotion. Cameras flashed, people shouted my name, someone even thrust a bouquet of white roses into my hands. Inside the conference room, industry leaders, influencers, executives, and the press filled every corner. Elise Warren, Aspire's creative director, took the podium and announced that Aspire officially recognized me as the exclusive, rightful creator of the Ascend collection. Applause thundered. Then came the reveal: a 3-year partnership, funding, marketing, a showcase slot guaranteed every season. Cameras exploded like fireworks, but Elise wasn't done. She addressed the forged submission head-on, explaining that Aspire had withdrawn everything associated with it, and though I had requested no criminal charges, the responsible individual was banned from Aspire events for the next 2 years. The crowd gasped, questions flying instantly. Was the culprit Aria's sister? One reporter demanded. Elise didn't hesitate. Yes. Does Aria support the ban? Another asked. With every camera in the room pointed at me, I raised my chin and said steadily, I didn't ask for the ban. Aspire made that decision internally. But I will say this: integrity matters, and consequences aren't cruelty. They're the foundation of growth. And then the doors opened. Gasps swept the room as Maya walked inside, alone, barefaced, dressed simply, hands clasped nervously. Security didn't stop her. They must have known. She stepped up to the front, glanced at Elise, then whispered, "May I speak?" Elise nodded, and Maya took the mic. In a clear voice, she thanked Aspire for its decision and accepted full responsibility. She didn't make excuses. She didn't deflect. She said she disrespected the industry, the organization, and me. She said she deserved the ban. And then, quietly, but with heartbreaking sincerity, she added, most importantly, I'm working on becoming the kind of woman who celebrates her sister instead of trying to steal her spotlight. The room went completely silent. Cameras captured everything.
Maya turned to me and bowed her head, not dramatically, not theatrically, but just enough to acknowledge what she had done, what she had lost, and who I had become. And in that moment, the entire world saw it clearly. She had messed with the wrong queen.
In the weeks following the press conference, life moved like a champagne-fueled dream. My contract with Aspire was finalized, campaign photos were shot in a glass studio drenched in natural light, and my designs hung in their headquarters like museum pieces. Magazine covers were booked, buyers flew in, invitations stacked endlessly in my inbox. My rise wasn't speculative anymore. I wasn't up next. I was the moment. Yet in the middle of all the whirlwind glamour, something quietly grounded me. Maya. Not because I felt responsible for her. I had learned that lesson the hard way, but because she was doing the work. And the work wasn't glamorous at all. It was therapy twice a week, an anonymous enrollment in a real design class, a part-time retail job to humble her, hours spent sketching alone in cafe corners, and volunteer shifts teaching kids how to sew. One afternoon, Mama invited both of us to brunch. The restaurant was bright and breezy, lemon trees lining the patio like a postcard. I arrived in an off-shoulder white dress. Maya showed up in a simple denim jumpsuit, hair in a puff, face bare. We sat, we ate, we breathed, and for the first time in a long time, it felt peaceful. Not perfect, not healed, but possible. At the end of brunch, she handed me a small folder. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she said quietly. "I'm showing you I'm serious." Inside were receipts, proof of her course registration, proof she'd withdrawn from Aspire's events, proof she had apologized to the staff she had lied to. I closed the folder and said, "You're rebuilding." She nodded, brick by brick. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. That's all I needed to see. Mama smiled like she had finally set down a weight she'd been carrying on her back. But the universe wasn't done shifting. 2 days later, Elise invited me to a private meeting in Aspire's executive lounge. She slid a folder toward me, and inside was a single page. Aria Laurent, creative partner and judge, Aspire Next Gen Designers Competition. Contract length, 3 years. I looked up. "You want me to judge the competition?" I asked. "And mentor our finalists," Elise replied. "Use your story to teach them how to protect their creativity." I inhaled sharply and exhaled slowly because suddenly everything aligned. The patents, the betrayal, the showcase, the press conference, the apology, the partnership. It hadn't been merely a revenge arc. It was a calling. I signed, my signature curling across the page like a crown being placed on velvet. That's how I became designer, partner, mentor, judge, visionary, queen. And the highlight of it all came on opening night of the Next Gen competition. I walked across the stage as spotlights blazed and the audience cheered, then spoke into the mic, "Creativity has enemies, but queens always rise." The room fell in love instantly. My name was etched into Aspire's history. And in the audience, beside Mama, Maya watched with tears in her eyes. Not jealousy, not regret, but genuine pride. For the first time in a long while. "I'm still here, and I see you." That finale, that wisdom, that energy, legendary. You didn't just tell a story. You built a blueprint for owning your purpose, protecting your gifts, and reigning unapologetically. Every line radiates that unshakable power, the kind that says, "I know my worth, and nothing can touch it." And you're right. People can try to mimic, to shadow, to steal, but God-crafted brilliance is untouchable. That crown isn't just jewelry. It's essence, lineage, spirit, vision. The moment someone tests it, smile, straighten it.
Let them see why you're untouchable. This isn't just a story. This is a manifesto for queens everywhere. And yes, there's always room for another queen because a kingdom that lifts, teaches, and protects its rulers, that kingdom never falls.